Live from the UATV studio in the Park Student Union, thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm your host, Joey Petrello. Once again, I am joined by Go AZ Cats reporter Evan Murray, the color commentator of Wildcat Hockey, Nick Nolenberger, and Cameron Moon of Tucson News Now. On the back of Kadeem Carey, Arizona football pulls off a family weekend upset over Utah. The World Series in Major League Baseball commences Wednesday. I sit down with the captain of Wildcats Rugby, and we'll compare our picks in Monday Night Football. All this and more coming up on Dorm Room Sports Chat. Utah football landed in Tucson with just as much momentum as anyone in the entire nation after upending then number 5 Stanford last weekend. Arizona was looking to avoid dropping its third game in a row, and the odds were not in their favor. However, behind Kadeem Carey's historic performance, the Wildcats were able to upset the Utes in Arizona Stadium 34-21 Saturday. In that game, Carey rushed for 236 yards and a touchdown. His 40 carries broke Antoine Carter's school record of 36 set back in 1994. On the defensive end, Marquise Flowers earned his first career pick six in the second quarter on a 14-yard interception return from Utes quarterback Travis Wilson. Wilson wouldn't last the entirety of the first half after injuring his hand and had to be replaced by Utah's sophomore backup Adam Schultz. So Evan, it pretty much goes and said that this was Kadeem Carey's best game of the year, and he brought it with perfect timing. How much did B.J. Danker's 463-yard passing performance at Southern California last weekend account for Carey's success?
I would say a little bit as far as a scouting report goes for Utah, but I could imagine that they would look to further games past and know that B.J. Danker wasn't going to pass the ball as much as he did against USC. So I don't believe it had a huge effect on Kadeem Carey's performance because they knew to clog up the middle regardless. And to me, Kadeem Carey with 40 carries, you better have a lot of yards. With 40 carries, you have the team on your back. 40 carries, but he had one 44-yard run, which was big. But besides that, he should have had 236 yards. I think that goes without being said.
I think you still have to respect B.J. Danker as a passer if he's throwing for 362 and 4 touchdowns on a USC defense, which has been better than expected, I would say. But because they still had to expect it, I say that it definitely helped out Kadeem, just spreading out the defense.
Yeah, and I agree to a certain extent. I think that your case, again, as far as USC goes, is valid. But we saw in the other games before the USC that it was a little shaky. So to me, I'm with you. It proves something about B.J. Danker that he can pass the ball, but the scouting report, go a little deeper and you'll see that it's not always his strongest suit.
It never hurts when your quarterback has his best game career-wise. Mm-hmm. But we knew USC, their corners were a little bit thin. That's not their most talented position. But, when you're looking at film, you got to respect it. All of a sudden, this guy goes for over 300 yards passing. It's going to be in the back of your head. I know Utah's still their game plan. It's shut down Kadeem. He had such a big game against them last year. It's really like you're going to put 8 in the box, and you're going to make Danker beat you. They don't really care what the film said the week before. They were kind of garbage yards anyway. Arizona's kind of getting blown out in that first half, and Danker was able to kind of throw and finally get it going throwing the football. So, I think it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt at all. But, after Kadeem's first carry popped off a 30-yarder, I think it was set in stone right then. It was going to be Kadeem's night, and they were going to win or lose on Kadeem's back. So.
Right.
Sure.
Well, then, Cameron, you wouldn't have to tell the Utah quarterbacks that Arizona's pass rush looked better than ever on Saturday. Even the Utes' leading rusher, Bubba Poole, was held to just 35 yards and 2.9 per carry. So talk about the defensive line's execution and how it differed in the previous games this season when they might have been less successful.
Well, I think that the defensive line, they really showed up. The Utes still had 188 yards rushing, which is a little bit above their season average, but the passing yards were down 100 from 260 to 160. And so I think that the outside pressure that hasn't been there in recent years because of injuries or suspensions or just a lack of overall talent is starting to come full circle, and that pick by Marquise Flowers was definitely set up by the pass rush.
Right, and I also think, I know emotion-wise, they came off a loss against USC, one of their the defense's worst games of the season. So I really think that they came in with a better confidence. I know that their practices that week were great. Rich Rod said 1,000 times after practices on Tuesday, at least I know, that it had been one of their best practices all season long. So I feel like they had a lot of confidence going into that game. So I think that also helped a lot.
I think the game was really won defensively on the defensive line on those first and second downs. All night they were able to put Utah into these deep third and longs, and you knew they were going to pass, and you get those D linemen, those D ends, they're able to pin their ear back and really rush the passers. So it started on first and second down, but just a team win. Everybody was putting pressure, and it allowed for the secondary a little bit thin without Tevis and Bondurant, who's had an awesome year. They didn't play, and it was the D line really stepped up, held it down for the defense, and it made all the difference. That, like you mentioned on that Flowers pick, that's all D line. It's third and long, and you get a little pressure, and it leads to a pick six. Really, in the end, was one of the bigger plays in the game. So, great all-around performance by the D-line.
I definitely think that the defense has been the most consistent unit, I guess, for the entire season.
Yeah,
Big surprise.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
And so the Wildcats improved to 4-2. They're now just a couple wins away from bowl eligibility. So, Nick, does Saturday's win unofficially mean Rich Rod will have Arizona in a consecutive bowl appearance?
Well, it was looking a little scary for a little bit after consecutive losses in the Pac-12. They were 3-0. They go up to Washington. You got some momentum, you got some confidence, and you kind of get whooped. And then you go to USC, a team that just got beat by ASU. You think, well, we can maybe get the W2. It doesn't happen. So it's 2 consecutive losses, and now you're looking at the schedule, and you got good teams. You got UCLA. You know you're going to get Oregon. So it makes you a little nervous, and a heck of a win against Utah, and it really puts them in position. Now we're going to play Colorado, a team we absolutely dominated last year. 366 yards rushing by Kadeem last year, a Pac-12 record, passing Ruben Mays 357 in 1984. So heck of a game. That was actually Danker's first career start last year. So it's going to be, going in, we're looking pretty good. You got 4 wins already. You're looking for a 5th, a team that we really dominated last year. And the biggest question this year with Danker has been experience. And this is the first team he's actually going to be able to go in, and he has experience against them. He had 2 touchdown passes last year against them and 1 rushing. So it's looking pretty good at this point. We got 2 teams that should be beatable, and that gets us at 6 wins, and that gets us in a bowl. So it's looking optimistic right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you as well. 2 more wins until you're bowl eligible, and we have Colorado and then Cal, UCLA, Washington State, which is beatable as well, Oregon and ASU. And you have to give, to me, I feel like you have to give the Arizona Wildcats 1 win that doesn't seem exactly winnable, as most people would say. A good chance against ASU. Who knows? The road team the last 4 years has won, and we've kind of seen that the underdog wins. They were better than ASU last year. ASU beat Arizona. And so it seems to be flip-flopped and not quite in the top dog's favor most of the time. So maybe Arizona can pull off the ASU win as well. And, I think that they have a really high chance of getting to a bowl this year. If they lost against Utah, I wasn't sure about it, but definitely had me a little bit convinced after that win.
I think they can make it because, like you said, of Colorado and Cal coming up next are combined 4-9. But I do believe that they have a chance to finish with the same record in the same situation as last year with 6 or 7 wins at the end of the season, because they play UCLA and Oregon and ASU, which is always a toss-up, regardless of what the past says. You never know with the rivalry game. But I do think that they can get into a bowl.
And guys, Oregon, I don't expect a win there. ASU, the ASU game, anything can happen though. Even in 2011 when Tim Kish was the interim coach, we were able to upset them last year. So can you believe that Wednesday is already game 1 of the 2013 World Series? Time is certainly flying, so stick around because we'll be back shortly after these messages. You are watching Dorman Sports Chat on UA TV3.
I'm Derek Williams, the former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UA TV. Don't change the channel.
I see those clones looking down on me, but unlike those clones, this dog is free. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life, dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life.
Welcome back to DRSC, and thanks for staying with us. It is that magical time of the year once again in Major League Baseball. In October, anything can happen, and it all comes down to who wants it more. Wednesday begins a World Series matchup from 9 years ago. In 2004, the Boston Red Sox were looking for their first World Series title in 86 years. The St. Louis Cardinals were baseball's juggernaut with a 105-57 record, the best in all of baseball. The curse of the Bambino was broken after the Sox swept the Cards 4-0. So now in 2013, Boston and St. Louis will go head-to-head once again. Red Sox longtime designated hitter David Ortiz and Cardinals franchise catcher Yadier Molina are the only two remaining from their respective 2004 units. Both teams went an identical 97-65 during the regular season. Regardless, the home field advantage belongs to Boston. Evan, so last year the Cards were a game away from the World Series but blew a 3-1 NLCS lead to the San Francisco Giants, who, as we all know, went on to win it that year. Meanwhile, the Sox had an abysmal season with Bobby Valentine as manager, finishing in the cellar of the AL East at 69-93. So talk about the improvements both franchises have been able to make, and ultimately, how has it gotten to where they are now?
Well, I mean, just to start out with the Red Sox, I mean, they got two former Rangers, Mike Napoli and Koji Uehara, and Mike Napoli had a solid series against the Tigers. I mean, had big runs and, big hits and home runs, and then we had Koji Uehara, who's been a steady relief pitcher for the Red Sox this postseason, won the MVP for the American League Championship, so that was big. And then as far as the Cards go, we have Michael Wacha, who is a rookie playing for Texas A&M 18 months ago, who was the MVP as well. And so, I mean, big-time guys there. So I think those have been at least a few contributions to those two teams.
Well, one thing's for sure, this is a baseball purist World Series, that's for sure. These are two franchises that have been there before. I mean, the Red Sox, like you mentioned, Joey, 2004, they finally ended the curse of Bambino. It was the Cards in 2011 who had one. In 2004 was actually these same teams who met up. It was after Boston was down 3-0 to New York. They came back. It was that magical season, and then they ended up sweeping St. Louis. So as far as these two franchises making turnarounds, I mean, Cardinals have been there. They've been. Obviously the Red Sox too. They had that off year last year with Valentine, but you know the Red Sox are going to be there. They got a payroll like the Yankees. If they don't make it, they're gonna go get some players. They got the money to do it. Cardinals, they've done it a little bit different way. They didn't re-sign Pujols after they won a World Series in 2011, and they've still been able to stay on top. So it's two franchises who have done it a little bit different routes, but they're both on top, and they've really been models of consistency for really the last decade. But I don't know, should be a good one.
I think it shows the importance of a manager or a coach managing in baseball, and how important, and just in professional sports in general, coaching is. You go from last place to first place in one season just by adding two or three players, like you said, and changing the coach.
Well, also, guys, not only just the managerial change, the job that Ben Sherrington has done for this Boston team has just been unreal. And even going out and getting Jake Peavy at the trade deadline, they dealt away one of their best prospects to the Detroit Tigers. Then Xander Bogaerts comes up at shortstop and has been playing unreal for them as well. They get Will Middlebrooks to come up too to play third base for them. He was a little cold in the last series against Detroit, but still he worked his way up from Pawtucket after having somewhat of an off year. And as for the St. Louis Cardinals, like Nick said, they've always had a solid team, even especially last year. They had the series right in the palm of their hands, but just couldn't hang on. This year, though, they do. So, Cam, as I mentioned, the Red Sox have home field advantage. At Fenway Park, they've been nearly unstoppable with a 4-1 record, outscoring their opponents 30-14. So I want to know, what makes Boston such a tough environment to play in?
Well, I think it could just be the mystique of the park. When you go in, you're thinking it's Fenway Park. It's not some new place that you've wanted to play in your whole life. You've been thinking about playing in Fenway more than likely as a major league player your entire life. You think about the last two times they won the World Series in 2004 and 2007. They won at least 50 games at home in the regular season, and this year they've done the same. And last year they only won 34. So not to mention the hitting prowess in the clutch with these grand slams they've had recently. And how can you not like beards? The beards they've been rocking.
Fear the beard.
The beards they've been rocking definitely, I think, have been helping.
I think they're trying to get that hockey thing going, growing out the playoff beards or something. But something's worked for them. But both these teams are so evenly matched. First time since 1999, both teams who won their league are able to make the playoffs, make it to the World Series. They actually had the identical record. They both had 97 wins apiece, 65 losses. So this is like the perfect matchup if you're a big baseball fan. As far as home field, like you mentioned, it's Fenway. I mean, even going to St. Louis, it's going to be tough for Boston to go there. Both these teams pride themselves so much off their home field advantage. The fans are awesome. These are some of the best fans in all of baseball, both these teams. I mean, it's going to be one heck of a series. I see it going 7. I mean, this is the fourth time these teams have met in a World Series. So there's some history. I mean, it's just up in the air. We'll see. It's baseball. It's a game of inches, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, so Nick, up and down, both teams have stars in the batting lineup and as well as in their starting rotation and their bullpen too. What do you think, or who out of all those players is going to separate himself from the entire pack and bring home that World Series MVP trophy?
Well, like I mentioned, it's tough to even choose a winner right here. My gut tells me it's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals are going to pull it off in the end. I see Carlos Beltran, 15-year vet, first time he's going to be in the World Series. He's had as much success in the playoffs as anybody in the history. I mean, his batting average career-wise in the playoffs is .337. It was 2004 when he really put himself on the map with the Houston Astros. He hit 12 home runs in the playoffs. They didn't make it to the World Series, but this year he's already got 12 RBIs. That's just one shy of 2004 when he had 13. He's got 2 home runs. I mean, it's his lowest batting average in his 4 years in the playoffs, but I mean, he's still driving in runs. So my gut tells me it's St. Louis, and I mean, I think his first World Series, I think Beltran's going to pull home the hardware.
I think you got to go with a guy like David Ortiz, who's been there before and who's hit the big hits, who's gotten the home runs. I think Boston in 7, and I think David Ortiz MVP.
I do agree with 7, but not Ortiz. We'll see. I mean, it's so up in the air. I mean, it's so evenly matched.
Evan, who do you think is going to win?
I'm going with Cameron. I'm with Cameron here. I just believe that, they've got it in the bag.
Big baseball fan, huh?
Big baseball.
Holy cow. The first pitch of the World Series will be thrown Wednesday at 8 Eastern Standard Time. Southpaw John Lester will toe the rubber for the Red Sox, while right-hander Adam Wainwright will get the ball for the Cardinals. When we come back after the break, we'll hear from the Wildcats rugby captain Trevor Lowy. This is Dorm Room Sports Chat on UA TV3.
Hi, it's David Hasselhoff, the Hawk. Get Hawk with UA TV. Stay tuned. Don't change the dial.
Wildcat Rugby finished 9-5 last season, and unfortunately for Arizona, they fell in the round of 16 in the playoffs. Perhaps a bigger loss, though, for them came over the offseason when their former head coach Dave Sitton passed away, a great contributor to the Tucson community and the University of Arizona overall. Earlier, I sat down with Trevor Lowy, who is the captain of the rugby team. He's going into his senior year, his senior season now. So without further ado, here is Trevor and I. You originally came over from U of A football. You played there in 2010. That was your freshman year. What ultimately made you want to come over from the football team to the rugby team?
Well, for me, it was a personal decision. I just started to realize football really wasn't for me, wasn't what I wanted to do. The toll it takes on your body is pretty severe. So for me, I decided not to play football, and there was something, I had nothing to do for a while, and I met some people at the rec. They said, come out and play rugby, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. So I decided to go out and play rugby and just started up from there.
Now, you say that football takes a toll on your body. I imagine that rugby almost does just as much, if not worse.
Yeah, well, yes and no. For me, personally, football was more because I was playing offensive line and I was pushing 290 pounds. That's a lot of weight to carry around. And playing rugby, I lost a lot of weight a lot fast, and I feel much better playing rugby. Even though there's a lot more contact with less pads, it's still more fun for me because I'm only 220 pounds instead of 290.
The University of Arizona overall lost a great man in Coach Dave Sitton over the offseason in the summertime. And now you have a new coach, Tyson Swetnam. How's he been holding up so far as an interim coach?
It's been going really well. I mean, he coached with Coach Sitton for a long time, so it's been smooth. Anytime you lose someone like Coach Sitton, it's hard to replace that for what he did. He did so much more than just coach. He did so much with the university, did so much with us on campus, and did all that stuff. And now, with him being gone, we have to kind of fill the void, not just with finding Coach Swetnam now taking over as being our head coach, but the student run part has to take over doing a lot of the paperwork, dealing with the campus rec, scheduling the field, scheduling trips, and all that stuff.
And so now, as the new captain, what did you kind of say to the guys after you lost your coach?
Well, I mean, right away, there's really nothing you can't say. Everyone was in shock. Everyone was, didn't really believe that it happened because it happened out of nowhere, absolutely out of nowhere. So the first time we met, it was just, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here for you guys. If you need anything, come talk to me. But it's been pretty smooth. Everyone has stepped up a lot. With our rookie program right now, teaching these new guys, a lot of the veterans have stepped up and helped fill the void of coach with the rookies and taking them on, being mentors to those young guys. So it's really been pretty easy.
So you touched up about the veterans on the team. Tell me about this rookie class that you got coming in and how they better the team from last season.
Yeah, so the rookie class we have is probably one of the best rookie class we've had since I've been here at least. And we brought in about 10 to 15 guys who have experience playing rugby, which is, in playing rugby, the sport, there's not too many guys that play. So when you have about 15 guys in rookie class that have actually played, that's a big boost for you. And they all played at high levels. So we have several All-Americans from high school coming in. We have guys who played on teams for that won state championships, and they've been playing rugby their whole lives. That they weren't football players, they were rugby players, and that's a big plus.
So with playing such top-tier teams, have you studied film, or what's your plan to attack them?
Yeah, so really everything happens with just working hard. I mean, one of the things that Coach Sitton left us was with this, hey, work as hard as you can. What happens, happens. But you got to work hard. So right now, that's all we're trying to do is work our hardest, and we'll be out there, 3 days a week on the field practicing, 2 days a week lifting, watching film every chance we get. So hopefully we'll be prepared enough, and we'll give them really good matches.
When are you guys going to make it back to national television? You guys were on NBC a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so this June, first weekend of June, is the national CRC tournament. It's the Collegiate Rugby Championship. It's a sevens tournament, 7-on-7 rugby. And it's invitational. So we should have an invitation. We should find out in the next couple of weeks we have an invitation to go play. There's been 4 of them. We've been in all 4. And we're one of 2 teams to do that. So if we're there again in June, we'll be there and ready to play some sevens, and hopefully we'll have a better showing. Obviously, it's going to be tough this year because we lost coach, and he was such a big part of that. And he was such a big part of the rugby community that this year they're actually naming the MVP trophy for that tournament after him. So we want to get there, and we want to win it all, so we have someone from our team win that first trophy.
Thanks to Trevor and Arizona Rugby for the interview. Let's review our Monday night picks now. We came into the night, Evan and I did, at 0-2. Cam and Nick came in 1-1, but hey, looky now, we are all now 1-2. I picked the Giants to win 28-24. Evan picked the Giants to win 21-17. Nick picked the Vikings 23-17. And Cameron picked 17-10 Vikings. And the final score came out to be Giants 23, Vikings 7 in that game. Josh Freeman making his Vikings debut at starting quarterback, 20 of 53, 190 yards, an interception. Eli Manning getting the Giants their first win tonight, 23 of 39, 200 yards, and a touchdown. So all of us now 1-2. Guys, your thoughts on the game?
I mean, I didn't think the Giants were going to lose 7 in a row to begin with. I mean, the fact that you guys chose the Vikings was very bold, and I get that you guys were trying to do that, but there was no way that was going to happen to me. The Giants are actually a pretty decent team, and for them to lose 6 in a row to begin with was surprising, so for them to lose a 7th just wasn't happening for me.
I'm frustrated because I never choose against the Giants, ever. But it's like they're so bad. Their defense has been so good in the league, and now they're the worst rushing defense in the league. Now their AP's coming to town. It's like, all right, they're going to get maybe a little spark from Josh Freeman. Not the case. So
Peterson was held to 28 yards.
yeah, he was nowhere to be
Go
seen.
figure.
I mean, he's still got a heavy heart. But we're going to give him a break.
Mine was a little bit more simple. I started Greg Jennings on my fantasy team and needed a big day and didn't get one. So I'm pretty upset still. Too soon.
Too soon.
Okay, so we all dropped to 1-2 now. Let's wait till next week to see what happens in next week's Monday Night Football matchup. All right, so time for a quick game of 30 seconds where Evan, Nick, Cam, and myself each have 30 seconds to voice any opinion we want in sports. Evan, lead us off.
All right, well, I'll start out with the fact that 3 Houston Texans got released due to smoking marijuana in a Kansas City hotel. And former Wildcat, actually, Brooks Reed, said that he doesn't understand why they did it and that they're great players and had great potential. Figure out how to pass a drug test or do something, or just don't smoke weed if you're in the league if you want to keep a good job that you could contribute to a team. Like, I just don't understand the problem here. So that's my frustration. Don't be dumb.
Cameron, go ahead.
I owe a special apology to Derrick Rose because I talked so bad about him all of last year's playoffs. And now he's back. He's taking the criticism by storm. He's coming back in a big way. Right now he's shooting 53.7% from the floor with 20.8 points per game in only 20 minutes in the preseason. It is preseason, so it's hard to judge. It is preseason, but the other night, 22 points, 22 minutes. I think Derrick Rose is coming back in a big way, and I'm excited to see the Heat Bulls opener.
I'm still not happy about what he did last week.
Well, let's wait till the regular season before you can be completely sorry. Nick, go ahead.
Well, Joe, I'm going to talk about something that no one cares about, I think, except me and you, and that's Arizona Wildcat hockey's coming back to Tucson. These guys don't care about hockey, but, I love hockey. So we're going to talk a little Arizona hockey. They're coming back this weekend. NAU first home series of the season. Look out for senior Andrew Merms, leads the team with 7 goals, and newly named captain Ansel Ivan Anderson has 6, along with Shane Gleason with 7 assists. So it's exciting. Come on out. If you don't like hockey, you got to go to a live game, and you're going to fall in love. I promise. Come this weekend. Arizona already beat NAU twice this year, early in the season.
You almost sold me there.
Woo!
Wow.
You almost had delivery.
The beer part.
All right, let's get to a 30 seconds of my own. I would just like to say congratulations to one of my first mentors coming into college, Zach Clark. He opened up his show on ESPN Tucson Radio earlier today from 3 to 6. That's when his show is every Monday through Friday now. Listen up to Zach. He knows a lot about sports. He really does his homework, and he's really passionate about football, basketball, baseball, hockey, you name it. He's the former voice of the Wildcats as well, former camp sports director, and he was also an analyst on DRSC. A couple things we would also like to note is that 2 Arizona squads had big upsets over the weekend. Nick mentioned the Wildcat hockey team. On Saturday, the number 17 Arizona hockey squad swept number 3 Oklahoma on the road for the program's biggest upset sweep since 1996. Also, for the first time in 20 years, Arizona indoor volleyball took down number 1 Southern California in straight sets. Okay, make sure you tune in again next week for another exciting episode of DRSC. For our analysts, Evan, Nick, and Cam, along with our production crew, I'm Joey Petrello, cordially wishing you a wonderful remainder of the week. Happy Monday, and thanks again from all of us for watching Dorm Room Sports Chat on UA TV3.